Everybody. Okay. Um, it's good to see everyone. Um, right now we have a new product, and actually, I think we're the first to introduce it onto the market. It's called Shogoal, and it's a ginger product. The company is making it specially for us, sort of a trial run to see if we can get it going. And we'll be talking about it today. So I think it'll be informative. I think it's an interesting product. I'm taking it myself, and I think that maybe a lot of you will want to use it as well. And we'll see how it goes on the market. We actually had it on Amazon for an hour or two, um, but I guess they didn't like uh, some of the things I said about what it might do. Actually, Amazon is stricter than the FDA about what you can say and can't say. So uh, it got kicked off till we can make it more acceptable, I guess. And that's kind of a hard thing when you're introducing a new product. You need to say what a little bit about what it can do and why somebody might want to buy it, because most people don't know about it. So we'll certainly do that here, and not going to make outlandish claims or unfounded claims, but explain a little bit about what Shogaol is. And with that, I'll go ahead and start sharing the screen. Um, find the Okay, Shogaol and ginger bioactive compounds. So, like I said, the product that we have now is Shogaol, and I got a bottle of it right here. You can kind of see it. Not too well, actually, the way this thing is doing. But anyway, we do have it. It's on the shelf now and ready to sell. So I think it's something that if you talk to stores, they might want to know about, because it's not something they can get probably anywhere else at the moment. So what is it? Well, it turns out ginger is probably one of the most versatile plants used by humans as far as its bioactive compounds and other things. It's an attractive garden plant. Really, it's a beautiful flower. It's something that you would enjoy growing, except that it's a tropical plant. It's not a perennial that you can set out and come up the next year, but it is a nice plant. Um, Ginger, especially the root, is often used as a flavoring in foods, ranging from stir-fried vegetables to candies. It goes into a lot of things. Ginger essential oil is used both topically and for aromatherapy. Ginger powder has been used in traditional medicines for nausea, colds, and respiratory disease, and really gastrointestinal distress and a number of things. So it's really had a lot of uses for over the last few thousand years at least. Modern uses of ginger and its compound include numerous metabolic diseases, inflammatory conditions, protection against oxidative stress, pain relief, and many more things. It's just a lot of things that it can do. And that's because it has a lot of different compounds in it. Um, and they really are probably well over 100 uh, compounds in it that are biologically active and have therapeutic benefits. The biggest ones are the category known as gingerols, either gingerol or some of the derivatives like Shogaol, which we're talking about primarily today. You can see that gingerol, and 6-gingerol particularly, is the most common bioactive compound in ginger. In fact, fresh ginger root, the dried powder can be 1 to 3% gingerol. So that's really pretty high for a bioactive compound. Now, gingerol, well, I'll say another thing. Sometimes you'll see these numbers beside 6, 8, 10. The most common being 6-gingerol. And what that is the number of carbons in this little, each place where you see a bend, it represents a carbon when you draw a molecular structure like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see. 1, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is gingerol. Now, if it was a couple more over there, that would be 8 gingerol. 4 more be 10 gingerol. So it goes like that. Now, Shogaol is, like I said, what our new product is. And if you look at the molecule, it's almost the same. You're losing this hydroxyl group, and this is being changed here a little bit. Although it's just about the same, really, because that's really a CH3 here. So really what you're looking at is pretty similar. And so there is not a lot of overlap in these compounds between what they can do. A lot of things that gingerol can do, Shogaol can also do, and vice versa. But it's not true with everything. There are some differences. Also, there's 6-paradol, which you can see is very similar to this. Now, 6-paradol is formed by a hydrogenation reaction that occurs under some conditions, and I'm not quite sure when this is made. I don't see it as a really common ingredient, but paradol is known to be a pain reliever, and it's a actually a drug, and so it's pretty close to the gingerols and Shogaols in its structure. Now, like I said, ginger root normally has 1 to 3% gingerols by dry weight. Fresh ginger has been used to treat a lot of common maladies such as headaches, colds, nausea, and emesis over many years. In recent years, ginger use has expanded to be antioxidant, used as antimicrobial, and possibly anti-cancer agent. Emerging research also suggests its use for neurodegenerative diseases, cardiovascular diseases, obesity, and diabetes. So really a lot of things that ginger is being believed to be able to treat. And so it gets a little complicated because there's so many bioactive compounds. It's often hard to know which one is doing what. So that's one reason why we have to kind of look at the studies and try to figure that out. Ginger uses a lot of different mechanisms for a lot of its different activities. And it can go through something called PPAR gamma for its hypolipidemic effects, although PPAR gamma can get involved in some of these other things too. But it's a major signaling mechanism in the body. Adipogenesis ginger can decrease adipogenesis, or the making of new fat cells. That means it has an anti-obesity effect. Can also have anti-diabetic effects, increase insulin sensitivity, glucagon like one protein, it's a protein, glucose uptake, and decrease glucose and glucagon itself. So, these are anti-diabetic effects that it has. But, these same things have anti-obesity effects. In fact, you could draw arrows between all of these things, showing how they interact. It could be a much more complicated looking illustration than what it is. So, well, let's keep talking here. That thing about it is it's interesting that it has all these different ways it can go because there are a lot of different compounds in the ginger. This review that where this came from didn't really distinguish between gingerols and shogoals. They just kind of lumped it all together. So what is really unique about a shogoal and what differentiates it from ginger compounds? And that's kind of one of the big questions we have. Well, ginger is well known to be an antioxidant. However, different components have different oxidative effects. And so here we can see oxidation is particularly ubiquitous in the human experience. We make a lot of oxidative compounds actually in our own bodies ourselves, but also we have radiation that causes oxidation and we need protection from. We have xenobiotics and various toxic compounds in our environment that causes oxidative damage. Actually, some people do a lot of things that introduce it themselves, like smoking and things like that. However, it's been shown that gingerol has an especially strong antioxidant effect. And actually, gingerol, when you do it in a test tube, according to this study, actually is stronger than the Shogaol. But interestingly, when you start looking at studies on antioxidant effects between Shogaol and gingerol in actual people or animals, it doesn't seem to be the case that gingerol is more effective. In fact, they're pretty comparable in their antioxidant effects. So what you'll see is awful lot of times you'll see that antioxidants, they advertise them and put their ORAC, ORAC values on there that shows how strong of an antioxidant it is. Well, the ORAC values are there again outside of a person or even an animal or cell. It really doesn't tell you what's happening in the person. So you have to be a little bit cautious in interpreting that kind of information. You'll see people advertising that my super duper antioxidant formula is 100 times stronger than vitamin E as far as its antioxidant ability. Well, in that ORAC test, it probably is. However, that really doesn't tell you very much because vitamin E has very specialized locations in the cells where it can go and has a particularly good what they call chain breaking antioxidant effect. So, these ORAC values and things, you have to take them with a little bit of a grain of salt because they really don't tell the whole story. And so we find that Shogaol is at least comparable in people, probably, to gingerol, which is one of the most potent antioxidant herbs available. Shogaol uniquely protects microglia. Microglia are basically the immune cells, or one of the main immune cells in the brain. The immune system itself doesn't get through the brain. It can't cross over the blood-brain barrier and get in there. But the brain has its own immune cells, and microglia are one of the major ones. And they are really very important for maintaining brain health. However, they are themselves subject to damage. Shogaol, but not gingerol, was shown to be neuroprotective both in microglial cells and in a mouse model of intracerebral hemorrhage. So they, in rats with brain injury, the gingerol, but not Shogaol, was neuroprotective. Now, exactly why, I don't know, but they said that Shogaol has a beta unsaturated carbonyl group that's not present in gingerol. That is needed for interacting with KEAP1, which is a signaling molecule in the brain, for this functionality. Well, in the rest of the body too. This may be a really important difference between Shogaol and gingerol, this ability to interact with these molecules. So this is at least one situation where it appears that Shogaol is actually more effective than gingerol in the neuroprotection arena. There's several papers here on that, and I just am briefly outlining them. In the first paper, we find that gingerols and Shogaols can alleviate pain in rats with spinal nerve injury. And the rats also had modulations in the microbiome, which is kind of an interesting thing because the interaction between the microbiome and the brain itself, the brain gut axis, they call it, is really getting a lot of interest. And that was Shingman was one of the authors on that. He's not with us today, but I think he's traveling, so he couldn't join us today. In the second paper, Shogaol was shown to induce neuritogenesis in NGF responsive pathways. Now, maybe you've all seen pictures of brain cells. I don't know, but they're like little round things with little appendages going off, like arms everywhere. Looks kind of like some kind of space creature or something. But those arms that go off go over and make contact with other cells. So the neuritogenesis is really important for the brain to be able to communicate and develop communication patterns between cells. That's where they do it. So Shogaol was really effective in inducing neuritogenesis in these cells in this study. In the bottom paper, Shogaol prevented damage to dopaminergic neurons in a Parkinson's disease model. In other words, in this case, mice who had induced Parkinson's disease, like disease, a model of that. So that was pretty interesting. And it was by way of its ability to prevent neuroinflammation, apparently. And that's one of the recurring themes you see, is that Shogaol really is an anti-inflammatory agent, but particularly uniquely effective in the brain and nervous system. So that's something that I think is quite interesting because, we're all concerned about age-related dementia or other nervous system problems as we get older. And so this is something that may help protect it. And the dose wasn't terribly high, 10 milligrams per kilogram per day. That's not a whole lot. And then when you adjust that to a human dose, it would actually be lower for humans, probably about 1 milligram per kilogram per day. So, a comparable dose in humans would be probably 40, 50 milligrams of Shogaol. So it's not that terribly high. And in fact, that may be high for a lot of things, as it turns out. You don't really need a whole lot of Shogaol to be effective. This was a study that Simon Park and I did. And this was about uh, pain relief in menstruating women. This study was a meta-analysis and review of studies showing that of ginger for menstrual pain. It did not study Shogaol, but since ginger root powder was used, and when you make a powder out of the fresh ginger root, you almost always form Shogaol. Fresh ginger and stir-fried ginger using the whole root doesn't have too much Shogaol in it. However, I would encourage you to eat it because the ginger oils have their own benefits. In fact, ginger is a great spice to incorporate in your diet as much as you can. But this showed that 750 to 200 milligrams per day of just ginger powder during the first 3 or 4 days of the menstrual cycle was effective for pain relief. So that was a pretty nice study that really just brought together a whole bunch of other studies and lumped them in to make one big study. That's what a meta-analysis is. Now, this is one of my favorite topics here on ginger, and one of my favorite uses is the use of ginger and Shogaol for weight loss. And everybody, it seems like these days, wants to lose weight. Myself included. I'm still a little bit heavier than I want to be. I've been getting close, but I'm not there yet. But still, in this study, the weight loss wasn't huge. However, the subjects ate their normal diets, took the extract or placebo of ginger. Now, this was a steamed ginger ethanolic extract that was high in Shogaol, but not terribly high. In fact, I think probably most of them didn't get more than about 2 milligrams a day of Shogaol. So really not real high. But over 12 weeks, they lost an average of 1 kilogram. It's 2.2 pounds. Now, if the effects were continued, that'd be about 4 kilograms a year, or about 9 pounds per year. Not a huge amount of weight loss, but when you figure that all they're doing is taking the ginger extract and not changing diet at all, that's pretty big. Most people only actually only gain about 2 pounds per year. After 30 years, that 2 pounds per year is about 60 pounds overweight. So, you can see how that adds up. This just about doubled, the weight loss here was about double what people gain in a year. And in fact, 2 pounds per year in this study is what would work out to about what the people who were the control group were gaining. They gained about half a kilo over the same period. So, well, they would have gained about. Anyway, I have to look at the control group again. Here we go. Wait. Yeah, no, they gained about half a kilo. So they were gaining over that 12 weeks about about half as much weight gain as that. So really, if you think about it, that's about 3 pounds difference during that period. So it's pretty good. The control group gained about a pound during that period of time, and the ginger group lost about 2 pounds. So that was a nice difference. Not what you want if you're trying to quickly get ready to go to the beach, but still, as a long-term weight loss strategy, it's really pretty good. Shogaol has also been shown to have anti-obesity effects in mice. This study showed an anti-obesity effect in mice fed a high-fat diet. The mice were administered Shogaol at 20, 40, or 60 milligrams per kilogram every other day. So if you put that on a daily basis, they probably did that every other day, because if you're administering it to these little feeding tubes, that's really pretty hard on the mouse. So I can understand doing it that way, but so that'd be about 10, 20, or 30 milligrams per kilogram per day. And if you put that in human doses, you're looking at about 1, 4, or 6, 1, 2, or 3 milligrams per kilogram per day in a human adjusted dosage. So, it's not that big again. An interesting thing about this was, and we'll read it right here in quotation marks, the obesity degree and blood lipid levels of mice treated with 6-Shogaol were reduced, and glucose homeostasis was improved, especially in mice treated with low dose. In other words, the lower dose mice did better than the ones with the higher dose. Now, that seems kind of odd to a lot of people, but we see this pretty often. And this just goes back to the notion, a lot of people think, well, if a little bit is good, a lot must be really good, and that's a lot of times not the case. And getting the dose right is often more important than anything else in being effective. So it's really important to keep that in mind. That's true with vitamins, minerals, herbs, probiotics, the whole thing. Getting the dose right is what's really critical, not just throwing a whole bunch of something at a person and say, take all this. So we need to be cautious about what we can learn about the dose effects. And that's something that's often neglected in this industry. But Shogaol also improved the microbiome, and we saw that in another study previous to this, and the microbial diversity of the microbiomes of the mice. And that's really important, because a lot of times you actually don't see that. You see the diversity of the microbiome, the number of different species in there decline. They almost always decline with age, but a lot of treatments decline. And sometimes people will decide that, well, they mostly got rid of the bad ones, but usually that's not the case. Actually, to say that particular bacteria are bad is usually not even correct. Most of them have their own purpose there. Perhaps you don't want too much of them, but you really want a very wide range of bacteria in the gut. That's almost always the best strategy. So who needs Shogaol? Well, that's the big question, and what we were trying to answer today, because this is the new product. We're newly introducing Shogaol to the market. Nobody else has it. Right now, it's not on Amazon at all. When we had it on Amazon, it was the only one there that was just Shogaol. But ginger's been around for a long time. It has a great track record of safe and effective use as a traditional medicine for thousands of years. So why Shogaol? Well, my answer for now is the following. People have concerns about age-related cognitive decline or disease. Probably should consider Shogaol. It has some unique effects from gingerol that really make it more likely to be effective. We all saw that in the previous slide. People with chronic pain should give it a try, particularly headaches, chronic headaches. I think it's worth a try. You'll know in a few days if it's going to work. It seems like the effects of Shogoal can be seen pretty quickly, usually, especially for pain. They recommend it for the patients with dysmenorrhea to take it just not all month long, the women, but take it right when they're beginning their menstrual cycle for a few days to help with that pain. People who need to lose weight, it's not a miracle weight loss product, but it seems to have a slow but consistent effect to help with losing weight. So I would say, this is something that most of us could possibly benefit from. And with that, we'll open it up to questions. Anybody have any questions or comments on Shogoal? It's something that we really need to start getting out there and letting people see. We do have a mini brochure for it. We also, are going to be having it on Amazon eventually, whenever we get out of jail, I guess. Amazon jail. But hopefully they will like how we modified the web page. But we are really anxious to see how this is accepted in the public. What's that?
If somebody were to want to get 6 Shogaol without taking a supplement, is it only steamed ginger that will provide that?
Drying, heating, that kind of thing. The steam process, the heat process, and the drying process are the things that I know of. Just cooking, it doesn't usually do it, make that conversion. A dried ginger powder will have some Shogaol in it. It's kind of, it's kind of a guessing game. It will depend on, what heat they dried it, how long they dried it, it'll be, and where it started. Ginger starts with usually 1 to 3% gingerol. So you're trying to convert that gingerol into Shogaol by doing that. And if you're drying it like in an oven or something, freeze drying probably, I'm not sure if that would actually do the job or not, but an oven drying process would. Yeah, I'm not sure if freeze drying makes Shogaol or not. I'd have to check into that. That might preserve the gingerol. But yeah, drying and heating usually will do it eventually anyway. That steam process, I was kind of surprised that worked, but it apparently did, because cooking, like in stir-fried vegetables, doesn't usually work that well. But they developed a process, I guess, in Korea where that was to actually do that. So, but yeah, if you get a ginger powder, it'll probably have some Shogaol in it, and use it.
Wow, okay. Thanks.
Uh-huh.
So the current gingers that are on the market, it's safe to say that the majority of them are just gingerol with a little bit of 6 Shogaol.
Usually that's the case, yes.
And
we've concentrated it. We've gotten it. The people that made it for us have concentrated the Shogaol to a lot greater. It's Shogaol content. It's been quite a process. It took them a while to develop it, really. So we'll see how this is accepted. But yeah, you can get these capsules supply a lot more Shogaol than you'll get, unless you're eating an awful lot of ginger.
So would you say this is a proprietary process?
It is, yeah. And, I'm sure that the company probably wouldn't even tell me everything about how they make it. But yeah, I know the basic processes of how it's usually made. The tricky part is to make it without degrading it further, stopping it at Shogaol, and then getting it concentrated.
And lastly, what would the test for determining which element it is? Do you know the test
Uh,
that
HPLC, high performance liquid chromatography, is what I think probably most people would use. That's what Shingman uses for it, I think. He tests it. He's testing ours and doing stability testing over time to see how it holds up and that kind of thing.
Awesome. I'm glad that we brought this to market. I think it's going to be a great product for us.
Yeah, well, I hope so. You know, people don't know about it. That's the tricky part. But it does have some you know, pretty decent emerging research out there. So I'd like to see it go well. I wish, yeah, Amazon has a great potential for being a good place to, get it to the people. I'm trying to figure out how to actually get the message out about what it does on there. But I'd like to see some stores trying it too. But we'll see. Um, it's it's it is a good product and a viable product. So we just have to figure out how to get people to know about it. Well, that's always the tricky part on it. Something that like this that nobody's ever heard of before. Anybody else have questions? Comments? Okay. Well, if everybody's got their questions answered, I guess we can go. And I think this is a good product. We'll see how we can do with getting it out there. I appreciate everybody listening. And if you have questions down the road, don't hesitate to ask. And let's see if we can get some people trying this product and using it. It's certainly something that will be beneficial to a lot of people if they use it. It may not, make them skinny overnight or whatever, but it's a good viable product that's a good solid research behind. So we should try to get people to start using it. And I've already started using it, and I suspect some other people here may have too. I'm not sure about everybody. If they haven't, they probably will after tonight. So I hope you all have a wonderful evening, a wonderful rest of the week. And with that, we'll sign off. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.